What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to have a little bit of a look at the yellow starter deck, Big Mum Pirates, over in the One Piece TCG. Now, we've not yet, unfortunately, seen the entire starter deck, which is obviously a little bit disappointing, but what we have seen is 9 of the cards, which means we're finally getting a really good look at what the One Piece TCG is doing with yellow, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is a wonderful, wonderful thing indeed. Shout out to onepiece-cardgame.dev for doing some translations here, although I did do some of these myself. And also, and I don't think this is very important, if you're searching for One Piece, cards that are free cost yellow, cards with block or whatever like that, just go and use onepiece-cardgame.dev. They are genuinely amazing for that kind of stuff. So, some of these we've seen before will be quite quick, some of these we haven't seen before, and we will spend a little bit more time, and hopefully we'll get a nice, decent look at exactly how yellow is working in the One Piece TCG. So Charlotte LINLIN is your leader here, 5,000 power, 5 life is standard for a mono yellow leader, and when attacking Don X2, you can add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand, and then if your life is 2 or less, you can place a card from your hand to the top of your life. I.e., you get to pick up 1 of your life, which gives you a card advantage. That's a good thing. But if you would then be left, so if your life is 3 or less when you start, 2 or less when you've taken it, at that point, you get to place a card down. And basically what this does is it means you never run too low on life. Not from your leader. You go down a bit low, but not hideously low. You basically can go from 5 down to 3, but you're going to be able to keep yourself at 3 if you so wish, and that's a good thing. Also worth bearing in mind, if you are placing a card from your hand on top of your life area, that is a very, very good thing indeed, because of course trigger exists. And what you can do is take a card that you know has trigger and put it on top of your life, knowing that the next time your opponent takes a life, they will activate that trigger. That's a very, very good thing. So we saw Charlotte Brûlée before, who is a blocker, and has got a trigger, play this card, free cost, 1,000 power, counter plus 1,000. And okay, fine, it's pretty rubbish as far as blockers go, but the whole point here is it's got a trigger that plays the card, and you've got blocker. So what you essentially do here is you take 1 of your life with Charlotte LINLIN, you get an extra card, that's a good thing, card advantage, all of that. You then put a card from your hand on top of your life, and that's really important, because now if you've got Charlotte Brûlée in your hand, rather than just playing it down normally, paying free Don and all of that, all you need to do is just put it on top of your life with Charlotte LINLIN, and then you play it for free, and that's a very good thing indeed. Now, another card that we previously saw with trigger is Queen Mama Chanter. This is the yellow stage card that we've seen, 2-cost stage. Again, it's got a trigger that plays it for free, so that makes it excellent to be using with Charlotte LINLIN here. And it's got activate main, rest this stage. You may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand, and place up to 1 of your characters with a cost of 3 on top of the owner's life area face up. So we have a very similar thing going on here. You can take a life from the top or bottom, and again, that's a good thing, because, I mean, it gets your opponent closer to winning the game, which isn't a good thing, but it is a good thing purely in terms of card advantage and all of that. But you then get to place 1 of your characters at cost 3 on top of your owner's life area face up. So what that basically means is, firstly, you're not actually getting closer to losing the game, because of course you're replacing the life, but also, hey, free cost card, Charlotte Brûlée, got trigger. That sounds pretty good, ladies and gentlemen. That sounds pretty gosh darn good. Now, we do have another free cost character with trigger that we haven't seen yet. It's Charlotte MONT. Free cost, 4,000 power, counter plus 1,000. And it's got a trigger that lets you play it, but you have to trash a card from your hand. Not ideal, I think it's fair to say. But again, the whole point here is that you're getting a chance in yellow in a way that you're not in the other colours, of actually stacking your life, of making sure that you've got characters with trigger that you can put on top of your life. And you will notice that this yellow starter deck has more trigger than we generally expect to see in a starter deck. And that's all very deliberate, incidentally. This is what yellow do. I would expect yellow generally, and we've not really seen enough to make a definitive call one way or the other, but I would expect yellow generally to have more trigger cards, and certainly that's what we're seeing at the moment, than your average colour, because you've got these ways to put them on top of your life to basically guarantee that that trigger comes out. That's a good thing. Yeah, you got to trash a card from your hand, which is rubbish, but it's a 4,000 power character, and you've got an activate main. You may rest this character and add the top or bottom card of your life area to your hand. KO up to one of your opponent's characters of a cost of 3 or less. Now, this one is a little bit more risky, because, of course, what you've got to do here is add the top or bottom card of your life to your hand, and you don't get to replace it. It's just gone. You're just further away from winning the game. One interesting thing here, all of these skills that say from the top or bottom of your life is actually really, really important, because, of course, you might be stacking the top card of your life. So what you want to do here is leave a blocker with trigger or something on top of your life. You don't want to then take the top card of your life, so you take the bottom card instead. You still get to keep the card you want on top while getting a card. That is a very good thing. We like this. And then, of course, we're KOing one of our opponent's characters for a cost of 3 or less. That could be a blocker. That could be somebody with a fun skill that they're using every turn to gain advantages, or just an attacker you don't want to see next turn. Either way, this is a very good thing indeed. Now, we do know what the 2 super rares are going to be from the yellow starter deck, and one of them is, like the leader, Charlotte LINLIN. 7 cost, 8,000 power. On play, your opponent chooses one of the following effects. Either trash one card from the top card of your opponent's life, or put a card from the top of your deck on top of your life area. But basically, either they lose a life or you gain a life. And to be fair, they get the choice, so good players are going to make sure that they go for the one which is a bit better for them. But the point is, either you get closer to winning, or they get further away from winning. If they feel like they've got cards that can take life nice and quickly, they're going to give you an extra life. If they feel like they've got lots of blockers, etc., they are going to let you take one of their life. But the point is, either way, either you're getting closer to winning or they're getting further away from winning. Either way, that's a good thing. It is an on-play skill, though, so it is a one-shot deal on a 7-cost card, but it is pretty gosh darn powerful. And to be fair, you've then got an 8,000 power character on board. That's not a bad thing. Charlotte KATAKURI, 4 cost, 6,000 power. On play, look at up to 1 life card from the top of your opponent's life, and put it either on the top or bottom of the life area. And that's a good thing, because basically, if they've got a card that you don't want on top, got a good trigger, whatever, then you drop it to the bottom. If they don't, you keep it on top. Plus, you've then got that knowledge, and having knowledge of the top card of their life is a pretty gosh darn good thing. Then, if you have fewer life cards than your opponent, this character gains Rush. And this is one of the reasons why this whole yellow thing is going to work. It's not just don't get me wrong, right? Card advantage is good. Getting extra cards, seeing extra cards is a good thing. I'm not saying it's not. But you can't just be constantly taking your life and seeing a few extra cards. You need some other concrete advantages, and this is it. If you've got fewer life cards than your opponents, this character gains Rush. Now, as a side note here, we have actually seen some dual color yellow leaders. Not in the starter deck, over in OP03, but we have seen them. We've got Charlotte LINLIN, who is yellow and black, and we've got Arlong, who is yellow and green. And what this basically does is it means that you start off with Rush on Charlotte KATAKURI as a 4-cost card. That's a really good thing. That is a very good reason to play dual color leaders. Of course, monocolor leaders start with 5 life, dual color leaders start with 4. But if you start the game with less life than your opponent, that is a good thing if you can do things like activate Rush. I can't imagine that this won't be a staple in yellow decks. I'm imagining that Charlotte KATAKURI is just, it's a 4-cost rusher with 6,000 power. That's really good. I imagine this is going to be, you're going to need 2 of these starter deck 7s just to get a playset of Charlotte KATAKURI. This card is a little bit redonk. The other card we'd previously seen was Charlotte Pudding, 2 cost 3,000 power, counter plus 2,000. The only counter plus 2,000 we've seen in the starter deck so far makes it important. And on play, you look at up to 1 life card from the top of your or your opponent's life and put it either on the top or bottom of the life. So exactly the same thing we said with Charlotte KATAKURI, because it is the same skill. I didn't actually say enough. In Charlotte's case, Charlotte KATAKURI, you can do your own as well, so you could leave one of your own cards with trigger on the top, or get rid of it, hoping it then brings up a card with trigger. Because like we said, yellow's got more trigger. So it's that, but you don't get rushed, but it's 2 cost, it's got counter plus 2,000. I rather suspect that in the early days of yellow, this is mostly going to see play just because it's counter plus 2,000. Now a card we've not yet seen, well, we've seen a couple already, but another one is Charlotte Daifuku. Now, what we got here is 4 cost, 5,000 power, counter plus 1,000. And on X1, when attacking, you may add a card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand and place up to 1 card from the top of your deck at the top of your life. Now, this card is actually a little bit awkward, but it combos really, really nicely with a bunch of the other cards we've seen. Now, the fact that it's got 5,000 power and you use Don X1 to activate means you're generally going to have 6,000 power, which makes it a decent attacker. Remember, leaders generally have 5,000 and the attacker gets the tie, so your opponent's going to have to immediately go up to 7,000 if you don't buff yourself anymore, which you might. But you can take a card from the top bottom of your life, put it in your hand. We talked about that, card advantage, blah, blah, blah. But you put a card from the top of your deck on top of your life. Now, this is not like your Charlotte LINLIN leader that puts a card from your hand on top of your life, allowing you to guarantee that you've got a good trigger, etc. on top. But it does give you a random chance. The thing is, take something like Charlotte Pudding or Charlotte KATAKURI. You may look at the top card of your life and know that it doesn't have a trigger. But it's a card you really want. It is a card you want to have in your hand that you can play later. Well, what Charlotte Daifuku does is it allows you to take that card. Again, it's a good card. You left it on top, not because it had a good trigger, because you really wanted to draw it. You then take that good card into your hand, but then you put a card on the top of your deck on top of your life. Does that card on top of your deck have a really good trigger? I don't know, maybe, maybe not. That's not what's important. The point is, the Charlotte Pudding or KATAKURI showed you there was a good card on top. Charlotte Daifuku allowed you to draw into that card, and now you've still, because of the second part of that skill, you've still got a decent chance of having a good trigger on top of your deck. And this, ladies and gentlemen, this I absolutely love. It's not necessarily a great card in every deck, but in decks where you are manipulating your life area, like this yellow starter deck, it can lead to some really, really, really cool interactions. And I suppose while we're here, we should have a little bit of a chat about Zeus. Now, what we got here with Zeus is 3 cost, 3,000 power, counter plus 1,000, and it's got a trigger, play this card. You'll notice it is a 3 cost card with a trigger. So Queen Mama's Chanter that lets you place up to 1 of your characters that costs 3 on top of your life area face up. Yeah, this will work here very, very nicely indeed. We like this, ladies and gentlemen. We like it. And what we got here is activate main. You may rest this card. Up to 1 of your Charlotte LINLIN gains banish during this turn. That is to say that if you attack and take out a life, any triggers don't activate. And bearing in mind, we've got cards like Charlotte KATAKURI, like Charlotte Pudding, which means that you might know what's on top of your opponent's life. You might have that knowledge. You might know that your opponent has a card with trigger on top of the life, and this makes sure that you can stop them using it. Although, to be fair, there's still a strong argument for just doing this randomly, crossing your fingers and hoping. Could work, ladies and gentlemen. Could work. All right. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the cards we've got from yellow. If any more are revealed before I post this video, I'll pop them in here. And obviously that was always going to happen. So yes, we do have another card to talk about. Because, I mean, first of all, to give us a nice clear image of Zeus, we were using a random photo from a magazine, which was not terribly clear. But we've also now had a good old look at Prometheus, a 3 cost, 3,000 power character, which is kind of cool. Counter plus 1,000. And it's got an activate main. You may rest this character And up to one of your Charlotte LINLIN in play gains double attack for the turn. And it's got a trigger that says you may play this card. You'll notice that it is very much a counterpart to Zeus. And actually, if we just put the two artworks together for a second, oh look, it's literally one artwork that has been cut in half. So it makes perfect sense that they would have the same stats and the same kind of thing. And obviously what you're really doing here is activate both of them at the same time to give one of your Charlotte LINLIN double attack and banish, because now you're getting rid of two cards. Remember, double attack isn't really double attack. It's really more double damage. But either way, you're getting rid of two life cards and neither of them can activate trigger. This could be very, very fun indeed. Really boost up your Charlotte LINLIN, which, let's face it, in yellow at the moment, something you're probably going to be doing. So, I did tell you another one was almost certainly going to be revealed. It was. Now let's finish the video like we intended to before. Although, I like this dude. Otherwise, I want to know what you think about yellow. I'm starting to kind of like it. It's very combo heavy, very risky, very taking your own life. But with all these trigger plays and manipulating life and, you know, a 4-cost rusher with 6,000 power, I think we could get on board with this very quickly. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.